First round didn't go quite so well. We were all muted up or something. But anyways, we're back with Junie and Jasmine, and we're going to talk about how they're going to defeat Bill Whitmire in November, and what we're going to do with that. So, same rules apply. And boys will tackle you if you go over 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, I think that where we left off was it's your question, and this one comes from Shannon A off of Facebook. She says, were you born and raised here, or are you a transplant with no real ties to the community or state? And how will that affect your approach in your campaign and your service to the community?
Well, the answer to that is yes, I was born and raised here. Technically, if you look at my birth certificate, I was born in Silva, but it was only because that was the closest hospital to my parents at the time. They brought me back home to a home in Long Creek. But yes, I was born and raised here. My whole family is in Long Creek, my whole immediate family. And that affects my campaign because the people I'm representing are my family. They're my friends that I've grown up with my whole life. They're the people in Long Creek who are not my aunts, but I call my aunt anyway. And the people in Long Creek who are not my siblings, but I call my brothers and sisters anyway. And when you're serving your family and your closest friends and the people that you've cared about for your whole life, I promise you that if you are a good family member, you will not sell them out. You will not let them down. You will be doing everything you can to work your job to represent them well, and represent their best interests. And that is how I plan to run my campaign. It's a foundational tenet of my campaign because I'm serving my family. I'm serving the people that I love the most. And I think that's all I have to say about that.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Junie, same question. You from around here or from somewhere else?
Well, I am a transplant. So I was born Fort Stewart, Georgia. My dad was Army. After he retired from the Army, we moved to Polk County, North Carolina, which, believe it or not, is more rural than Oconee County. They will never have a Walmart there. They're just very rural. So Oconee is my chosen home. We're lucky to live across the street from my in-laws. We can see where we got married every day. Like, this is home. So we plan to continue to serve the community, whether or not we win this election in November. But we've built such a beautiful community. I've got a million grandmas here, and I love it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So the next question. This comes from Tater off the internet, and he wants to know, what is your plan for eliminating the issue of homelessness and homeless encampments in the upstate? And that would be you first.
So this is a growing problem with the rising cost of housing in Oconee County and the lack of jobs. So I think our best bet would be to ensure that housing can be afforded by people who work in our county, that if there are mental health crises, that they're handled appropriately so that people are not unable to get a job because their mental health spiral. And then once we're able to have affordable housing for our citizens, and jobs that support that, that would really change the impact of homelessness in Oconee County.
All right. Same question. Homelessness in Oconee County.
This is a difficult question to answer because it's so intersectional. There are so many things that factor into whether someone is able to stand on their own 2 feet economically in this area. I think that the first 2 things that we would need to do is develop affordable housing responsibly, which ties into the first question that we answered. And that's step 1, is making sure there are actually places for people to live who need a home. Step 2 is making sure those people have stable jobs that actually pay them enough, which we need to develop economically. And then we also desperately need to raise the minimum wage statewide, because right now it's tied to the federal minimum wage. It's hasn't been changed since 2009, which we all know things have only gotten more expensive since then. It's gotten harder and harder to afford to live since then. Things like healthcare have gotten more and more expensive, and we've gotten less and less support on that. So it's a very intersectional issue. There are so many things that we need to do. But the first two things we need to do is make sure these people have homes, make sure that they have jobs available, and make sure that they are paid enough at those jobs so that they can actually continue to maintain a lifestyle that is healthy and that is secure afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The next question is about jobs, and it's about jobs, and it's about AI, and it's about data centers. When you guys are at the State House, what is your stance going to be on AI data centers in the upstate?
I love this question because my other job is in environmental nonprofit work. And in that space, there is a lot of concern about the impacts of AI and data centers on the environment. My stance is pretty firm on this one. If AI data centers are going to be polluting our public resources, like our drinking water, then the public needs to be in charge of whether or not they move into this area. There need to be stringent regulations on development in the realm of AI. It's moving so fast. Our regulations have not caught up yet. And in an area like this, where so much of our natural resources have to do with water, have to do with rivers, the Chattooga, the Chaga, have to do with lakes, Kiwi, Westminster gets the majority of its water supply from the Chaga River. And if a data center were to move into this area, it would have citywide implications there. We need regulations, we need to develop responsibly, and we need to make sure that our regulations are caught up with AI, because right now we are allowing them way too much wiggle room to go into the rural areas where people who cannot speak up against a project that big live, and put them there where they think that they'll be able to. My response to that is, if billionaires love AI so much, then put the data centers next to their house. But unfortunately, that's not the way we're growing. And so I am all 100% for stringent regulation on AI data centers and not letting them be put in areas where they are going to impact the public resources, drinking water, just the scenic area, anything like that, all for regulation.
Awesome. Junie, how do you feel about data centers?
I hope that there is never a data center in Oconee County. Just the impact that is going to come to our citizens. Like, we already struggle with utility bills. We already struggle with development. Our county just lost the conservation bank where we were able to save land. Mm-hmm. We don't need a big data center in here destroying our environment. This is such a beautiful place. They need to figure out a different way to power these centers, or another route. Stringent policy is great, but I just really hope Oconee never sees the day that an AI center threatens to come this way, because we will just lose so much beauty. And is it really worth it? I don't think it is.
Agreed.
All right. I think those things are horrible and they need to stay away. Next question is about education. Now, Bill Whitmire has been on the education subcommittee for just about as long as he's been down there, because he's a retired teacher. Now, we're 43rd in the United States when it comes to education under Bill Whitmire's watch. Are either one of you willing to change that? I believe it is your turn.
So one of my hobbies is filling the little libraries around our community. Access to education, access to books, children being happy at school, being fed at school, that should be our top priority, because that's going to be the generation that is running the world when I'm old. So I want them to be the most balanced and educated that they can be. Us being 43rd in education is laughable. We just need to get a better superintendent of education at a state level, and then we need to start paying the teachers that will stay here, because they're so underpaid. We're taking vouchers and giving them to private schools, where that is hurting our teachers even more. Teachers have lack of resources. The list just goes on and on about why our education is lacking. I hope that we can at least get to 40 in the next year, and then continue to move from there. I know it's not an overnight thing. We have a lot of things to fix. But until then, I'm going to continue filling the little libraries and hope that as a community, we can make a big difference.
All right. Same question.
The thing that I find the most shocking about our education ranking is that it is not just because of one facet of our education. Our education problem ranges from pre-K all the way to higher education. Pre-K, at least I think it was 39 to 49%, I forget which one, but a huge percentage of our preschoolers do not demonstrate readiness when they are going to move on to the next grade. And then if you look at the higher end of that, I think it's 31.5% of people in this state are not receiving a higher education. It is a huge problem, and it especially affects rural areas like ours. The teacher pay is a huge problem. The teacher pay disparity between developed areas and rural areas, there's a huge gap in that. And I, of course, think we should be paying our teachers more. A lot of people say that we can't afford to do that. And even if you buy that argument, we need to be doing other things beyond that. We need to be offering loan forgiveness for teachers who commit to working 5 years or more in a rural area. We need to be covering universal free lunches to remove the stigma of lunch programs for children who are in need. We need to be offering free universal 4K, pre-K, not just income-based qualifications for that being free, because we all know that a child's early education dictates a lot of what comes afterwards. There are things that we need to be doing at every level, and we need to be doing more than just throwing money at the problem. We need to create programs when we cannot finance them to make these things happen. And there are so many of these things that can happen a lot quicker than people in our representative, in the body of our representatives have made it sound like it can happen, because we know that they can move faster than they are moving on this one. And I think it is unacceptable that we're 43rd. If you send me to the State House, it is one of the first things that I'm going to advocate for, because our children need to be cared for. They need to be fed, they need to be taught in school, and they need that from the time that they are in pre-K to the time where they hopefully go to college one day, if that's what they want.
All right, thank you so much. And you brought up food and feeding the children at school. I can't believe that that's even a discussion. Those children are made to be there 8 hours a day, and we don't feed them. That's just awful, right? I mean, sometimes they may not get a meal at home because we live in a place where we do, and folks are just poor and they don't have it. I spent a lot of time volunteering with a backpack program at James Brown Elementary School, so that on Friday that the lunch ladies can fill a backpack and send it home with these children, just so hopefully they'll have something to eat for the weekend. I mean, and that's and we've got folks that are fighting to turn that off, and it's just wrong. The question though comes from Ron Favre, and he wants to know about food deserts. How will you bring food security to District 1?
I think that the biggest way that we can do that is by supporting our local farmers. We have so much accessible agricultural land right around us. And the way that we solve the food desert problem isn't by shipping in food from across the country. It's by looking at what we have right here, funding those farmers, funding those jobs. And then in turn, we solve a food problem because now we have local food right here. Farmers markets. There is a farmer's market right up the road in Long Creek that operates all summer, and the food there is incredibly affordable. People from all around come to it because it is doing such a good job at crowdsourcing food from all of the local farms in this area and making it accessible to people in this area. And the programs like that need funding. There is a program called the Clemson Area Food Exchange that crowdsources farms from the Clemson area. And the only reason that that food makes it up here is because I know 3 people who dedicate their free time to bringing it up here for the people in this area so that we can have access to, because it's very rural up here and it's very far from Clemson. And that shouldn't be something that people are using their free time to solve. It should be something that the state is solving. The state is funding programs and local farms, and also the programs that distribute the products of those local farms to the areas that need them. We definitely have to fund that more at the state level, because right now it's on the community, and it is a bare minimum requirement of any community to be successful, and the state needs to be talking about it.
Awesome. Junie, food deserts.
This is another one near and dear to me. So the third Saturday of every month, we do food box giveaways. So Community Tree is the organization I work with, and we're able to pass out food boxes to cars that come through. And then afterwards, my car is actually full right now of canned goods that we distribute out to blessing boxes, the senior center, the nursing home in Westminster. And then if there's overflow, we do Dot's Kitchen, and we even share out into Easley to Shine Kitchen, I think is their name. So again, it is local residents doing it. Charles Mulwee founded Community Tree. He's a local officer here in Oconee County. At a state level, what we need to do is ensure that the SNAP benefits do not go away. That not only helps benefit the farmers, but it also keeps our people fed. Yes, there is 3% fraud in that, but 3% fraud, would you rather want 97% people starving? Like, no, 3% is a very low metric on anything failing. I think we need to continue to push 501c funding for anybody who can commit that time. And then the food programs within the school, making sure that the children have breakfast and lunch. I know Herb Pool in Westminster does food over the summer for the children that don't get to eat. So just different things that communities could definitely benefit from state funding on. And then like during COVID, McMaster cut the funding on children's food during COVID. So taking food right out of baby's mouth. Like, these are unacceptable things that we need to change. And the only way you can change those is having representatives, calling those representatives, have them hear you. So you need someone who's going to answer the phone or the email to be able to say what we need in this county.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The next question is about special needs children and how they are taken care of in South Carolina. There's a waiting list for special needs children. It's got like 38,000 children on it who will probably age out of the program before they ever see the first service. Are you committed to changing that? And Jenny, that'd be your question first.
This is why I love Sylvia Wright. So one of Sylvia Wright's boards that she's running for superintendent of education. One of the boards that she intends on putting together is directly for special needs children to make sure that they're accommodated the way that they need to be accommodated. 38,000 kids with no answer is ridiculous. And mama bears are out there fighting that fight every day, trying to get their child the same education that everybody deserves. And they shouldn't have to fight that fight every day. We need to look at funding for our schools and reallocate that budget to make sure everybody is included. I know that we are struggling with our budgeting in general as a state, but there's got to be something done so that these children are not left behind. It's just unacceptable.
Same question.
Yeah, I think that this is just yet another instance of the people who need this funding the most not getting it. And there needs to be a serious reprioritization in our representative party, because special needs children should not be the ones who are left out of this conversation. The people that truly need it are waiting so long that they don't even qualify for the program until they are that they are not qualifying at the point they are actually approved is ridiculous. And Sylvia Wright, I hope she gets her spot, because there needs to be funding reallocation. Those students need to be prioritized, and the fact that it is not happening is egregious. So yeah, I'm very excited for her campaign. I am
For young education too. So like that previous question about education, she has a plan from 3 or 4 all the way back.
Yeah. She was advocating for the Forte talk point at the event on Monday, and I truly hope she gets the job. I truly do. So the answer to the question is yes, I would be committed to solving that, because I think that it is absolutely necessary, and it is egregious that they have been left out.
Awesome. Well, Sylvia, I think you've got some support in the house coming. If it's not there now, it's coming. So let's talk about access to medical care in the upstate. We are very rural, very remote, and it seems like every time we listen to the news, there's another cut coming to rural health. How will you change that?
I've said this before, and I am going to keep saying it. We need to expand Medicaid in this state. It is the silver bullet to solving this problem. It is the obvious solution, and the only reason it is not getting passed is because that bill has a Democrat's name on it. But we know that it will help. We know that it keeps rural hospitals from closing. We know that it benefits the economy. Yes, it will take money to make that happen, but that is money we have. It will take $244 million to expand Medicaid in this state. But we have that money, and I know that we have that money because when it comes to other issues, we are so just, our representation is chomping at the bit to throw money at it. We just spent $3.5 million on putting off our midterms, or not yet, but it seems like we're on track to. We are spending over $200K a day on special sessions. You know how I know we have that money is because we had a treasurer who lost $1.8 billion. We can fund medical care for the people of this state, and it is ridiculous that that is being brushed off because we can do it. And we know that it benefits us. We know that it benefits the economy. We know that it helps rural areas the most because it keeps those hospitals from closing. And it's a silver bullet. And the fact every single representative who has voted against that, I hope that they all lose their job in November. I really, really do. Because it is misrepresentation. It is letting down all of the people, the 300,000 people in this state who need medical care. When you choose not to pass a bill like that would help 300,000 people just because it has a Democrat's name on it, that is just a huge red flag for everyone on either side that our partisanship has gone too far. Our divide has gotten way too far if this is the path that we're choosing to go down, to not help this many people for the sake of the symbol of our own party. It's ridiculous. So that's I will push for Medicaid throughout my campaign and if I am elected.
Same question.
So I've actually been working on this with the Westminster City Administrator, Kevin. Westminster is a healthcare desert. So is Salem, Tomassi, Mountain Rest, Long Creek. We don't have basic care. We have one doctor in Westminster who just took on an intern. We have the Rosa Clark Clinic that was just built. But outside of those two things, if you need care, you have to go to Seneca. And there's a lot of older people or people who live alone where if you are truly sick or hurt, you have to commute 20 minutes in or more. That's just not acceptable. So I've been reaching out to Clemson Rural Health, Bon Secours, Doc in a Box. The only person that's responded to me is Hunter Combs from Prisma. He was looking at a couple buildings to bring like an urgent care style facility to Westminster area, which would help a lot, but still not 24/7 care. I think we need to make sure that residents are able, because there is no public transportation. So if you don't have a vehicle and you are rural, what is your chance of going to the doctor? Like, you're going to get much more sick. You're going to get way worse before you treat something. And then by the time you get there, is there something we could still help with? So I think we need to continue to push to bring resources. That's one of my main talking points, bringing normal everyday things to our communities that we need to survive: food, medical care, education. It's a very simple campaign, but it's 2026 and we're still fighting just to have basic human rights. So I'm working on it. I'm hoping that I'll bother somebody enough and we'll get an urgent care, and then we'll go to the next city and try to help them get an urgent care.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. All right. The next question comes from Laura Bush out in Tomassi. Now, she's known for the hard questions. All right. What are your undisclosed conflicts of interest? We need transparency.
I have a couple. So I work with Community Tree. That's a 501c. I feed people, so that could be considered a conflict of interest. And then I work with, the president on the board of directors at Westminster Senior Center. So I guess that could be considered a conflict of interest. I have a small business, but it's small, like a few hours a week. I think that's really all my skeletons. I'm really bad at saying no, so I'm easy to get signed up for many things.
All right. The power of saying yes. All right.
The only one that I have is my full-time job outside of this, which is working for an environmental nonprofit in the upstate, the Chattooga Conservancy. It's a 501(c)(3), so maybe it could be considered a conflict of interest that I have that job, but I don't think so. And that's all. I don't accept corporate sponsorships in my campaign. It's a grassroots campaign. I only accept real people who are donating their money because they actually believe in what I am trying to do. So I don't have any skeletons there, and I don't plan to put any in my closet on the campaign trail.
Awesome. That was great. I'm glad to hear that neither one of you got some crazy stuff back there, or at least you're not willing to tell us about it. That's okay. So the next question. This comes from Tim L off of Facebook. Party allegiance. Do you see a vote for you as a vote for the party, or are you for your constituents? In other words, if what your constituents want you are elected goes against what the Dems want, who will you go with, and who are you serving? And I forgot which one goes first.
I would not consider myself an establishment Democrat. I was not really active in our Oconee County Democratic Party until very recently, about 2 years. When the person is elected to represent District 1, they are representing everybody. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Green, or apathetic. Like, that's your base is everybody. So I am not going to be your Democratic vote. I'm going to be what's right, what do the people want, because that's who I'm serving, are the people.
All right, same question.
My short and sweet answer is no, I don't really have any party allegiance. I am a Democrat because I picked the party that I share the most beliefs with, and it happens to be Democratic. But if there is a bill on the Republican side that I agree with, I will vote for it in a heartbeat because I was elected by the people. I would serve in office for the people. And so constituency comes first. I might get in trouble for saying this, but I hold very little Democratic allegiance party-wise. I go with what I think will work best for the people who would elect me and what I think would work best for the type of world that I want to live in. And that's why I'm here.
Well, I certainly like both of your answers to that question. So, because we see too much right now of party allegiance on the MAGA side, and if you're either in the cult or you're not, and well, we don't need that. We need real people making real decisions. So the final question, and it's a long one. It goes to the other side of the paper, and it's like got some misspellings and some run-ons. I think it was probably written by AI. But here we go. It says, this concerns PACs and pre-written legislation brought in from out of state. How do you feel about pre-written bills from outside sources? Should they be allowed in the state house? And will you consider using them? Currently, prior to the beginning of the session, there were hundreds of bills ready to go, pre-written by PACs, special interest groups, advocacy groups, think tanks, lobbyists, and all they have to do to convince a representative to sponsor the bill. It seems like cut, paste, copy from other states or even federal interests, and they're not unique to South Carolina at all. Sometimes the same subject is allowed to be introduced dozens of times. This costs our citizens. How do you feel we could balance the issue and find a way back to writing our own legislation tailored to South Carolina's unique needs. Can you limit the amount of bills submitted on one subject or targeting one group of people? And then again, I don't think there's a wrong answer. My neighbor's ugly dog is better than what we have down there now. All right. So that came from the internet. I'm not going to disclose their name. That was a hard question.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah, I am pretty comfortable giving a blanket no answer on that one. I think that every single bill that we pass needs to be tailor fitted and tailor made for the state that we live in. Because it is a unique state, and we need to make sure that we are representing the interests of the people that we represent in the bills that we pass. I think copy and paste has no place in state legislature. I really don't. And also the corporate interest who submit these things, who tailor make these things for the people who are bringing them to the table. I think that that is a conflict of interest, which we already discussed, and I don't plan on doing that. So the answer is blanket no. I think that taking in inspiration from things that other states do and watching them and seeing if they work and then implementing that in this state, of course, is a good idea. But copy and paste, no, absolutely not.
Awesome. Same question. You want me to read it again?
Double the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So I worked in custom software development for a little while within the federal government space. And what we call that is boilerplate. Those are boilerplate proposals. They basically just copy paste and submit. They don't really take the time to figure out what the project is or understand the full scope. They're just copy paste. Those proposals usually never won. So what we need to do is look at other states and say, okay, they're doing policy around AI. Okay, what can we take from theirs and what would work good for our area, and basically build like a template and then build out our own proposal. I think that if people are submitting these regurgitated proposals for policy, they should have a limit on how many they can submit, because it's wasting our money. It's wasting our time. Mm-hmm. And every day that we're in session arguing about, something that's happening in Montana but would never happen here, we're just wasting taxpayer money. We have better things to focus on. We need to talk about education. We need to talk about healthcare. We need to talk about so many other things that the copy paste is just eating time and making decision fatigue where it's not necessary.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that wraps up the 12 questions. And I would like to give you both 3 minutes to give us what is your most important aspects of your campaign. And since you started the show, I'm going to let her go first here.
Most important aspects of my campaign. I can't pick just one. I apologize in advance. But my campaign is essentially about representing you well and representing the needs of people on either side of the party line. We all need more affordable healthcare. We all need to be able to afford to live in this state. We all need access to food. We all need jobs. We all need to be paid enough at those jobs. And right now we have representation that is content letting us drive over 100 potholes to get to work where many of us are not paid enough, stay there for overtime, and then come home to a house where we are struggling to put food on the table, and then going to sleep thinking about how we're going to do it the next day. And it is an egregious failure. And my campaign is all about representing the people well, crossing party lines to make those things happen, but not compromising the values of the arguments I will make to make those things happen. And finally, having a government that represents its people well and represents their core needs well. Like I said, my other job is an environmental nonprofit work. So up until now, my job is quite literally going to work every day, solving difficult problems using limited resources for the good of the community. This is what I do, and this is what I like to do. And nonprofits in the name, I'm not in it for the money. I'm really in it for my family. I'm in it because I am from here, because I was born and raised here, and this is the place I love more than any place in the world. And I really hope that I will represent you well. And if I am not, believe me, I will listen to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming. And now, Jenny.
So the key things I'm running on are rural community revival, working families first, and government transparency. So we've kind of hit on all of these topics tonight. We need to be able to have jobs for our citizens, healthcare they can afford, childcare that they can afford, so that they can stay in this community. If we continue to push everybody out, we're going to wonder where everybody went and why we're not thriving. So my goal is to bring the transparency. This is what we're doing at the house, the state house. This is what's on the table. Hear what you're saying, like, oh yeah, no, we do want the data AI center. Well, then we're going to have conversations about why, and come back to a resolution. And then just the rural community revival, bringing in healthcare, making sure people have access to internet that works, affordable utilities. These are all things that we're still struggling with as a district. And if we don't have people who understand that struggle, they're not going to understand that that's an issue that needs to be fixed. Bill Whitmire sat in that seat for 24 years, and it's just, this is what he has brought us. So it's time for a change. I think we both have great points, two different perspectives. You have a choice now, and it's been since 2012 that you haven't had a choice. Please vote well. Vote in the Democratic primaries in June. I hope to be your choice, but either way, I think we have really great opportunity here to do better for our community. And I won't go away either way, so you're stuck with me.
All right. Well, thank you guys both for coming. It was a pleasure to meet with you guys, and I hope that you guys can stand up and shake hands as you walk out of here. And good luck on the campaign trail. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right.